Hey there, Carrie Clark here with SLP Solution and Speech and Language Kids, and today I'm going to show you how to help a child answer when questions. So this week we've been talking a lot about questions on the website and on our social media. So we did one on where questions, one on who questions, one on yes, no questions, and finally this one is when questions. So if you are working with a child who is struggling to answer questions, I do recommend that you pick one question type at a time and go through that before you go back to add more. So, when questions would be one type of question that you could start using and that you could teach them. But this is probably going to be one of the later ones you teach just because those time concepts don't really come in until 4 or 5 for some children, and maybe even later if they're having some delays with their speech and language. So, when questions, I would save till after you've done the where, who, yes, no questions. But these would be a good one to go to next. So, for this one, I'm going to give you 4 different types of when questions to teach. Now, usually I like to give you a step by step process, but there's not really a great order or a specific order you need to do these in. It can kind of just depend on what the child is ready for and which ones they find easier. So I'm going to give you 4 different types, but don't feel like you have to teach them in this order. So the first type of when questions that you can teach is time of day questions. And I'm not talking about like 3 o'clock in the afternoon or 7:30 in the morning, because specific times are hard for children to grasp. But just time of day, like is it daytime or nighttime? So this is an example of a worksheet that's over on speechandlanguagekids.com for free if you want to download that. And it has basically just 2 choices, daytime and nighttime. And that's how we can start, because that's a very simple way to talk about time where they don't have to be able to read a clock, but they do have a concept of what time means. So let's see. So we have, when do you go to bed? So that would be at night. When do you ride your bike? In the daytime or during the day. So just giving them, 2 choices, night or day to start with. And then as they get better at answering those types of questions, then maybe you can do, morning versus afternoon versus evening. So you can add in some different times of day. If they're a younger child, maybe they understand when nap time is. So maybe before or after nap. So giving them, choices based on what's relevant to them and the time concepts that they understand. Because what we really want for teaching when questions is that they understand, okay, if somebody asks me when, I'm supposed to give a time, or, this talks about this concept of time. So that, you're not saying, when do you eat breakfast? And they say, mommy, because that doesn't answer a when question. Okay, so that's this. The first one is time of day. The second one then would be time of year or seasonal. So again, this one, I've broken this down into winter or summer, or you could say the hot seasons or the cold seasons, because there's a big enough difference that they understand that. Now, if you live somewhere where the weather is the same all year round, maybe that's not going to be a great one for you to choose for that child. But for us here in Missouri, we have very different winters and summers. We have a very strong temperature change. So when are there flowers outside? Definitely not in winter. So we would say summer or spring if they were able to differentiate that. Oh, when would you build a snowman? Well, in Missouri, that's going to be winter. You might not get snow where you are, so maybe that one's not as helpful. But you can just think about things that happen either when it's warm out or when it's cold out, and use that as a reference of time. Okay, so that's number 2, seasonal. Number 3 is similar, but it's holidays. So a lot of children celebrate holidays. Not all of them do. So again, make sure you know your audience. But if you know which holidays are relevant to that child, then you can talk about things that happen at certain holidays. At Christmas, we open presents. At birthdays, we eat cake. At Easter, we search for Easter eggs. Now, those are just the holidays that my family celebrates, but there's lots of holidays all around the world, and you definitely need to make sure, if you're going to use this type of when questions, that you look into which holidays that child celebrates, because it might be different for each family. So that would be the third type of when questions then, are holidays or special events. There might be special events that happen in that child's life. The fourth type are cause and effect. So these I would say are probably more complex than the time of day and the seasonal ones, but there might be some children who find these easier. So again, don't feel like you have to do them in this order. But here is a worksheet with some time of day questions. This is from our membership site. And these are things like, when do you eat? Well, I eat when I'm hungry, or maybe I eat at dinner time. When do you sleep? When I'm tired or at night. When do you need a band-aid? When I get hurt. So asking questions that have kind of a cause and effect, where I do this thing when this other thing happens. So those are kind of the two different ways that when questions present for us is either a specific time or a season or temporal marker, or the cause and effect. We use it for both. All right, those are our 4 different types of when questions. Choose one to start with, break it down, work on that one for a while before you move on to new when questions. All right, we have lots of great freebies. These 2 worksheets are available over on speechandlanguagekids.com. You can type in when in the search bar. We have lots of other great resources over there for answering questions as well. So head on over to speechandlanguagekids.com and subscribe for more videos. We have more on the way. All right. Thanks so much. Have a great day.